Husband kicked out his wife and child 10 years later. A DNA test shattered his heart. Lily's body trembled as she clutched the newborn tighter to her chest. The hospital room was quiet at first, peaceful even. The rhythmic beeping of the monitors, the soft hum of air conditioning, and the scent of antiseptic filled the space. But none of that reached Lily. All she could hear was the pounding of her heart as her husband entered the room with heavy steps. Dr. Matthew Hale, once the love of her life, now standing cold, stern, and unreadable. His eyes fell on the baby in her arms, a baby boy named Elijah. Tiny, wrapped in pale blue, his cheeks warm and flushed from the delivery. He had soft brown eyes and a patch of dark hair already curling near the crown of his head. Lily thought he was perfect. Matthew didn't smile. Instead, his brow furrowed, his lips pressed together tightly. He didn't move closer. "Whose baby is that?" he asked quietly, but the tone was anything but calm. Lily blinked, confused. "What?" He pointed. "I asked you a question, Lily." Her voice caught in her throat. "Matt, he's ours. He's Elijah." The nurse standing near the door, Clara, froze in place, sensing the shift in the air. Another nurse, Emily, stepped back with wide eyes. Matthew took 2 steps closer. "You think I'm a fool? Look at him!" Lily's grip tightened on Elijah. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Matthew snapped, his voice rising, "this child looks nothing like me, nothing." Lily shook her head in disbelief. "Babies change, skin, hair. It's too early to tell." "Too early?" Matthew interrupted, his finger now inches from her face. "He doesn't have my eyes, not my hair, not even my skin tone." "He's your son!" Lily cried, her voice breaking. "You're a doctor. You know how genetics work." But Matthew was already turning. He stormed toward the door, fury radiating from his posture. "You cheated on me. Admit it." Lily's mouth fell open. "I would never. Matt, please, you know me." Clara stepped in, trying to calm the tension, but Matthew raised his hand to silence her. "I want a paternity test, now." "No one is touching my baby," Lily cried out. Elijah stirred in her arms, his tiny mouth twitching at the sound of his mother's distress. Matthew's eyes burned with betrayal. "Then you already know the truth?" He didn't wait for her to speak. He turned and walked out. Lily burst into tears. She looked at the stunned nurses, their faces pale with shock. "He doesn't mean it," she whispered through sobs. "He's just overwhelmed." But inside, she knew. She had seen it in his eyes, the doubt, the shame, the cold retreat of the man she thought would stand by her in her most vulnerable moment. Hours passed. No one came. Matthew didn't return. No flowers, no smile, no camera to capture the first family photo. Just silence. Lily lay there, alone in that sterile hospital bed, gently rocking her baby. "You're mine," she whispered to Elijah, "and you're his, too. He just doesn't see it yet." The whispers began in the hallways. Nurses who once smiled at her avoided eye contact. One even asked quietly if Lily wanted social services called. A doctor's wife being accused like this was news. By the end of the day, Lily was discharged early. No one offered to help her pack. She limped out of the hospital with a duffel bag in one hand and Elijah in the other. No car waiting, no husband beside her. She called a cab. She cried the entire ride to her sister's apartment. Days turned into weeks. Then divorce papers arrived. No explanation, no apology. The accusations were formal now. Irreconcilable differences. Suspected infidelity? Matthew had already spoken to lawyers, and just like that, Lily Hale, the woman who once stood by Matthew through every medical school exam, every night shift, every residency breakdown, was now a ghost in his perfect life. But what he didn't know was this: Lily never cheated. Elijah was his. And one day, the truth would break through the walls of pride he'd built to protect himself from something he never truly wanted to see. 10 years had passed since that day. Elijah, now a bright and curious 10-year-old, sat alone near the school gates, waiting for the yellow bus that never came. A reckless driver had lost control on a rainy morning, spun out and collided with the bus carrying 30 children. Elijah had survived, but barely. The impact had thrown him against the window, cuts on his face, a fractured wrist, and internal bleeding. Emergency responders arrived fast, but so did the questions. He didn't have any emergency contacts besides his mother, but Lily wasn't picking up. She had been in surgery herself, a routine appendix removal that turned into complications. She was still under anesthesia when Elijah was rushed in. The ER staff had no choice but to treat him as a child of unknown parental consent, relying on medical urgency laws. That's when Dr. Evan Hale walked in. He didn't expect it. He had just ended a grueling double shift and was planning to leave, but the cries of a young boy in the trauma room tugged at something deep inside him. He almost walked past until he heard the nurse say, "His name's Elijah." 10 years old, no father listed. That name, that age. Evan froze. "No father listed?" he asked the nurse without thinking. She looked over. "You know the boy?" Evan's face had gone pale. His heart raced. "Where is he?" In the trauma bay, Elijah lay unconscious. His face was bruised, but something in the shape of his eyes, the slope of his nose, it was like staring into a mirror of his younger self. He stepped back, stunned. For 10 years, Evan had erased Lily from his life. He had remarried once, briefly. It didn't work. He told himself it was about betrayal, about dignity. But now, in that boy's face, doubt stormed back like a tidal wave. He asked the nurse quietly, "Has a paternity test been done?" "No," she said, "not yet." He looked again at Elijah. "I want one, now." The results came in the next morning. Evan didn't sleep. He sat in the hospital's on-call room, staring at the ceiling, twisting his wedding ring from a past he abandoned. He prepared for what he believed would be another cruel trick of the universe. But when the nurse returned with the envelope, she handed it to him wordlessly. He opened it, and everything inside him collapsed. Probability of paternity, 99.998%. He blinked, disoriented. There's no mistake?" "No mistake," the nurse said gently. "He's your son." Evan felt his knees buckle. He sat down in stunned silence, the room spinning. All the years he had spent hating Lily, the coldness, the court battle, the letters returned unopened. He had been wrong, horribly, shamefully wrong, and now that little boy he abandoned was lying just 2 floors below, bandaged and alone, believing his father never wanted him. He rushed to Elijah's room. When he entered, Elijah was awake, groggy, confused, a cast around his wrist, 4 in his arm. Evan stood at the door, trembling. "Elijah." The boy looked at him. His eyes were dull at first, then narrowed in confusion. "Do I know you?" Elijah asked. "I'm your dad," Evan choked out. "I didn't know. I was wrong. I was so wrong." Elijah stared, silent. Evan moved closer, unsure if he had the right, unsure if it was too late. "I should have been there. I should have held you when you cried. I should have taken you to school, told you stories, bandaged your knees, everything. I thought your mother betrayed me, but she didn't. She never did." Elijah's eyes began to tear up. Where were you?" The question hit like a blade. Evan knelt by the bed. "I was lost in my pride, but I'm here now, and if you let me, I will never leave your side again." There was a long pause. Then Elijah reached out with his tiny bandaged hand, and Evan broke down sobbing as he took it. Later that evening, Lily opened her eyes in the post-op recovery room to find Evan sitting beside her. For a moment, she thought she was hallucinating. But when he stood and took her hand, the sorrow in his eyes was real. "You were right," he whispered. "You were always right." Tears spilled down Lily's face. "I never stopped loving him," she said. "I know," Evan replied, "and I never stopped being his father, even when I didn't deserve to be." Outside the hospital room, Elijah looked through the window, watching the two people who had given him life begin to mend what once was broken. And for the first time in 10 years, he smiled. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.